Good evening. Welcome to the March 12th, 2024 City Council meeting. We'll start with the prayer. Dear God, today, as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for the direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilor Chow.
Here.
Councilor Dakota.
Here.
Councilor Getchia.
Here.
Councilor Janess.
Here.
Councilor Leahy. Councilor Mercier.
Here.
Councilor Noon. Councilor Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Rourke.
Here.
Councilor Scott.
Here.
Councilor Yem.
Here.
9.
A moment of silence. Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to read a memorial in honor of a mother of a friend of mine, Jake Vitale, who was a Lausanne reporter for quite some time, and currently he is an assistant to the state representative here in our city, Roddy Mom. I would like to request a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Shayla Vitale, a beloved mother, wife, and sister who passed away on March 12th at the age of 59 after a valiant 7.5-year fight against cancer. Shayla was born in Melrose on May 25, 1964, to the late John A. Curran and late Mary Louise Conley Cochran Curran. Shayla found immense comfort through her faith. Shayla's faith led her to pursue the ministry path, earning a master's in divinity from Andover Newton Seminary School. She used her faith to empower other women and support people from marginalized communities. She performed countless charitable deeds and acts of kindness for her neighbors, friends, and family without ever seeking recognition or anything in return. Shayla simply believed that a good deed was a good deed. In the final years of her life, Shayla was involved with an organization through the United Church of Christ known as Crafting for a Cause. The group donated many handmade items such as hats, mittens, and scarves to local nonprofits like the Boston City Mission Society, Dana-Farber Cancer Center, Sawtelle Family Hospice House, Katie's Closet, and Officers of Veterans Affairs. Shayla was the sister of the late John Jack Curran and the late Joseph Cochran. Shayla is survived by her son Jacob, husband Edward, sister Jean, and brother Timothy. She's also survived by her godson and nephew Patrick Curran, niece Marge Curran, and nieces Kelly Mandel and Andrea Cochran. A small service will be held for Shayla's close friends and family on Saturday at the United Church of Christ. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any others? Mr. Clerk, please docket the chamber. May she rest in peace. Two, Mayor's Business 2.1, Communication Remote Zoom Participation. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Chow, second by Councilor Dakota. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 3, City Clerk 3.1, Minutes of the Senior Citizens Subcommittee, March 5th. City Council regular meeting, March 5th for acceptance. Motion by Councilor Janess, seconded by Councilor Getchia. All those in favor say aye. Motion passes. General public hearings will start at 7 p.m. Section 5, City Council motions. 5.1, Councilor Yam requests City Manager have appropriate department work with the Lowell Environmental Youth Task Force to create a composting service for the city.
There's a registered, oops, sorry.
Seconded by Councilor Robinson. Mr. Clerk.
It's the registered speaker, Mr. Mayor. Tyson Baguba.
Yes, sir.
Come on up.
Just your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Hello.
My name is Tyvon Bogwa.
Welcome.
Oh, I live in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Do you wish to speak on the motion?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have a PDF.
Do we have we just have your name and to speak on the motion.
Oh, I just have to say what the motion
Sure,
is?
go right ahead. You can speak
Oh.
on it.
This is,
Could we have your address? I know you live in
Oh,
Lowell. Could we
okay.
have your address?
I live on 2 Cross Street, Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
My motion is to start a community composting service in Lowell, Massachusetts. It will be run by the city with the help of organizations such as EYTF, the Environmental Youth Task Force. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir.
Good, very good.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tavon reached out and, as he mentioned, he would like to see the city work with the youth task force to maybe looking into composting as a way to reduce the gas emission to save the environment. The EPA estimate that there are about 51.8 methane gas released from the waste food that dump into the trash site. So this is an effort to reduce methane gas and to save our planet. So Tavon has a presentation, but for some reason we didn't have a chance to provide it to the city. But we probably, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I would like to refer this to the youth subcommittee and to have furthermore detailed discussion regarding the matter. So,
Excellent. Motion by Councilor Yam, sent to a subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I know we have some community organizations that do some form of composting. I think that there is an opportunity to bolster their efforts, so I agree. I think we send this to the youth subcommittee for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Getchia.
Thank you. Could this go to the environmental subcommittee? Because I think it's not a youth subcommittee, it's more environmental when you talk composting. If the maker of the motion would switch to that.
could we do both a joint subcommittee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that
Because
makes
Tavon is
sense.
from the low youth, so the youth people will take its initiative. So I think if I may amend the motion, Mr. Mayor,
Absolutely.
to send it to a joint subcommittee of
By
the
Councilor
youth.
Yam, seconded by
and-
Councilor Getchia. Amended.
So,
Any other words?
Mr. Mayor, is this food composting? Is this leaf composting? What type of composting are we talking about, I guess would be the question.
Any
It will
questions
be,
for the subcommittee, you think? Right.
I'm just wondering what their plan was right away. because-
it is a food composting.
Okay.
Faison?
Food composting.
Thank you.
Tyson? So what happened this evening was it was sent to a subcommittee.
Yes.
I'd bring your presentation to that, and we can go over everything about it. Sound good?
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for coming out. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.2, Councilor Robinson, request city manager provide an update regarding motion 11.7 dated July 19, 2023, referencing a speeding study on the Christian and Mount Pleasant Street, along with the area around the reservoir, and if the data has been used to create a traffic analysis report available to the public. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Robinson.
Motion speaks for itself.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.3, Councilor Robinson, request city manager provide an update on status of the eroded areas along the reservoir on Reservoir Street, together with anticipated completion of repairs. Seconded by Councilor Scott. Councilor Robinson.
Motion speaks for itself.
5.4, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.4, Councilor Robinson, request city manager provide an update on when the trees will be removed and if there will be a tree replacement project at the reservoir. Seconded by Councilor Getchia. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I know this is something, due to the classification of a high hazard dam up at the reservoir, it's something that we have to get done eventually. I didn't know if we discussed it briefly back in the fall. I didn't know if there was a timeline and what that looked like, and then also for the replacement end of it if we looked into that far yet. So thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.5, Councilor Robinson requests city manager provide an update on the status of the traffic calming measures for Billings and West 6th Streets. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. This was presented at the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group. We heard about it on the council floor, part of the traffic engineer's plan. There was going to be temporary pilot programs at both of these locations, and I've had constituents reaching out asking when. Still haven't seen anything over there. I believe the Billings area is a lot of speed in that area, and it's a bus stop area, so I think.
Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we're talking about this motion specifically in Centerville, and we're talking about calming measures, I just want to say that we did have a gentleman named Mr. Forsley. He thought it was another type of meeting, I guess, because he came up and he spoke about his area of Centerville being very like a drag racing place, speeding. So if this is traffic calming in the traffic engineer is here, this speeding from down by the Willett funeral, the Dracut line to the Willett funeral home on Aiken Avenue. If we could add this to the calming area, I guess he has called the police many times, and they said that there's speeding all over the place. That's not a message or a response I would like to hear. And I know that the Assistant City Manager, Sean Machado, did come into that, took the man to talk to him. I assured him he wasn't being arrested, but anyway, it was really, thank you for doing that. So if we could combine and add that, it's the same area of the city, and it's for the same reason of speeding. Thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.6, Councilor Robinson requests city manager have proper department provide a detailed report on all Phase 1 ARPA projects, including timelines. Seconded by Councilor Scott. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I've been getting a lot of calls with questions from constituents just about different projects, so if we can get a timeline of what we're looking at. I know there has been some posted on the city's website where each of these projects is in what phase. So I saw for the St. Louis project, for example, I believe it's in the design phase, and there is a architect already acquired for the project, but any anticipated timelines above and beyond that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council. Councilor Robinson, I just want to make sure, parks, is that what you're primarily looking at?
Pretty much all the open space improvements that each district, Phase 1. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.7, Councilor Robinson requests city manager have the proper department install caution deer crossing signs on Christian Hill and around the reservoir, Orchard, Mount Pleasant, East 6th, Methuen Streets, and other key locations. Seconded by Councilor Young. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I've had a resident reach out that lives up in that area, and I guess between the apple orchard and I think the area on Methuen, he said the numbers are growing. And coming up the hill the other night, coming home, he said late at night. I mean, he's saying 7 to 10 in the middle of the road some nights. So I mean, if the residents are looking for a couple signs up there, it can't hurt, you know. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.8, Councilor Robinson requests city manager provide a detailed report on what are options to provide animal control response 24/7 to our residents. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Robinson.
Do we have a registered speaker?
Speaker here, Mr. Mayor. Robert Canellis.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, members of the council. My name is Robert Canellis. I live at 442 Beacon Street in Lowell. I am a lifelong resident of the Centerville section of Lowell and the son of a former Lowell police lieutenant. I must preface my remarks by saying that I have nothing but enduring respect for the Lowell Police Department and, holistically, for the breadth of city initiatives. There is, however, always room for improvement. I address you today on behalf of my daughter, Sarah, who is currently in Texas on business and who recently realized the need for specific improvement. 6 days ago, on March 6th at 3 p.m., a neighbor discovered a loose pit bull on Beacon Street and immediately called animal control for assistance. She was told that an officer was not on duty and that there was nothing that the city could do. My daughter Sarah, who is professionally trained in dog rescue, was then alerted and summoned on an online community page to assist the neighbor. Sarah arrived, discovered the pit bull off leash and without a collar, and quickly called the police. Just as quickly, she was advised that if the animal wasn't injured or acting aggressively, the city would not send an officer. Here now, my daughter tasks me to quote her directly, so her words. As an experienced professional in dog handling, dog rescue, and the veterinary industry, I see the opportunity for improvement in the city's response. First, because a dog isn't, quote, acting aggressively, quote, doesn't mean it will not bite. I am an experienced pit bull owner and trainer. Most times, a silent bully breed dog is more of a risk than a vocal dog. The situation that I encountered was a threat to the dog's safety as well as to the neighbor's safety, including the park full of children 50 yards from the dog's discovered location. Secondly, the situation gave rise to the breach of specific laws. The dog was not on a leash and was wearing no identification. Exacerbating this, the owner became belligerent when she eventually reappeared. To expect residents to navigate these problematic and unsafe scenarios on their own is unreasonable and potentially hazardous. I have lived all over the country in Massachusetts, Georgia, and Arizona. I have lived in urban, suburban, and rural settings. This is the first time I have encountered a municipality without 24/7 animal control resource. From my perspective, this city's glaring resource omission not only neglects the safety and care of animals, but more importantly, jeopardizes public safety. End quote. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and attention. I do hope we can steer the city into a safe and responsive mainstream with respect to my daughter's request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. This is just another instance. I've been contacted about residents where there's raccoons acting strange in broad daylight. They call and they're told that animal control is not able to respond. What a lot of communities do, I don't know if it makes more sense. I know we do have something internal, in-house, but other communities will outsource for the strange hours. I mean, I'm just looking for whatever this administration thinks our options might be and lay those out for the council for discussion, because I think it's right. I think we need to provide this service of animal control 24/7 if possible, and how we achieve that, I think that's completely up to the administration and your recommendation. So I'm looking forward to the report. Thank you.
Councilor Getcha?
Through you to the manager, don't we have an ordinance that we do have 24-hour animal control?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. We do have people on call for that. It just would depend. Currently, right now, I believe we have one, possibly two people. I believe one is even out injured, maybe. So I just may not have been available at that time.
Were you made aware of this situation prior to tonight?
Yes, police department did respond to it.
They did respond to it?
That's correct.
Okay, so if the police respond and there's a dog loose, what happens? Do they get animal control? Or do
I will
they...
get the full report, Counselor. I'm unsure. We did not have a animal control officer on at that time.
So does this
I
meet,
believe somebody was out.
does this meet your expectation, what the resident is saying?
It wouldn't, but I would need to see the full report to find out what exactly happened.
Because it's kind of disturbing any dog. I don't label them pit bull, not pit bull, or anything. I don't really know the answer to that piece. But at the end of the day, when we have animal control and we pay them, just like the water department, and somebody should be on call 24 hours a day. If there's a water leak, we need to go out and correct it at that point. So I'll be interested in seeing this report, because I'm just wondering, and I thank the resident for highlighting this, because this could turn into a lot worse at some point if we don't have that understanding. So thank you.
Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of this report back, Mr. Manager, could you please just give us a rundown of what the current state is in terms of our policies around this, if an officer's on duty, if an officer's not on duty, just so that we understand what the expectations of the city are, so when issues like this can come up, we can communicate appropriately.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.9 by Councilor Chow and Councilor Scott, request city manager to provide a report on city-owned properties to include their current status and any planned disposition. No second needed. Who wants it? Councilor Chow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I go first because I'll be very brief on this. The original motion was put forth by Councilor Scott a couple of years ago asking for this type of update. I think once a year we should get an update on this type of properties. I know there's a few ways that these properties could be disposed of. An update to the council. I'm sure there's a lot of interest by the public as well. I would appreciate the report.
Councilor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to echo what Councilor Chow, I was going to say Mayor, sorry about that. We have a housing crisis. We still have some empty properties around the city that people are asking about. I know the one on Kinsman has been empty for years. It's decaying. Residents are concerned now that there's been people entering the house again. So if we could just get an update, as Councilor Chow said, we also have some empty lots that neighbors are looking to buy for yard space or for parking. And it's been several years that they haven't heard anything back. They've been quiet about them. So if we could just get a regular update. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.10, Councilor Scott requests city manager work with the transportation engineer to develop a better traffic parking plan on Prince Avenue. Seconded by Councilor Yem. Councilor Scott?
Thank you. So we had blocked off the end of Prince Ave quite some time ago, and I think the road there has become even worse since that happened. We had the railroad tracks that used to run down the middle of the road, so it's an extremely wide road. But right now we have parking happening on both sides of the road, plus 2 rows down the center of the road. So there's 4 rows of cars parking intermittently down the street. It's not all full, but it's just kind of, intermittently. And I've had at least 4 or 5 occasions now where the trash trucks or recycling trucks did not pick up the neighbors on Iowa Street because they couldn't get down the road. And the neighbors' concern with that, of course, is that if the trash trucks can't get down, then the fire trucks can't get down. So they've asked me to have someone look at either possibly marking off spots that are allowed or something similar to that. So, thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.11, Councilor Scott requests city manager explore any grant opportunities or other means to purchase and install solar speed lights in known problem areas. Second by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Scott?
Thank you. Again, residents reached out. They really think that those signs work, the speed signs. They think on Billerica Street, Hollis Street, I heard great feedback about them. So going into the budget session, I'd certainly like to see us, acquire more of them. And obviously, solar would be the way to go, I think, because I do know one of the things I constantly had to do on Billerica Street is call to say the battery was dead. So if we could look at, purchasing more, that would make sense. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you, and I thank my colleague for making this motion. I think I was asking in front of West 6th, Eagle Park. I think we have some areas in the city that would greatly benefit from illuminated stop speed signs, any kind of lighting you can do, because in Tingsboro we see them. They have a few out there, and the stop signs that are illuminated, it really makes a big difference. Really makes a big difference. Thank you.
Yeah, just quickly, Mr. Manager, terrific motion. I know every councilor here could give you 10 different streets in the city that could use those, so the more the merrier. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.12, Councilor Scott requests city manager work with the appropriate department to determine what road improvements can be made to the Meadowcroft Street to fix the poor conditions. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Scott?
Thank you. Meadowcroft Street has actually been repaired several times. We did a large sinkhole that was forming. We fixed a water main break, but the area in particular around the railroad tracks is just horrific. You cannot drive down the street without really just riding your brakes the whole way. I know the fire trucks go over it and they just hit the roof when they go down the street. So I don't know what's going on there, but there's some compaction issues, I think, because it's more than just pavement issues. But we also have large dump trucks driving down the road with stone and tractor trailers, obviously, and and the area just needs attention. Beyond that, the street is covered with trash from illegal dumping all the time, and the trees along the sidewalk by Americraft Carton there. I mean, they're just, the whole entire sidewalk is busted. So it's just, if we could really take a look at the street, make it a little bit more appealing for the neighbors that live there, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Councilor Yam.
Just a quick comment on what Councillor Scott mentioned. That street, from what I remember, we go down there a lot when we have business down there in the South Low. A lot of trucks that travel there, and at one point they the boulders they dig up the boulder and they dynamite it, and the truck carry all these rocks and boulder through there, and there's a lot of damage from overweight trucks and stuff like that, and that's causing the poor condition of that Meadowcroft. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 6, communications from the city manager. 6.1, motion response A, Chelmsford Street and Cambridge Street. Councilor Gitcha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Assistant City Manager Bias Rose for this report, and also Elizabeth Altman for the report. I think that it's a good report because she recognizes that maybe it doesn't meet the crash piece, but you can see there's rear end damage to a lot of vehicles over there. So there is an issue over there, and I look forward to seeing this piece addressed as soon as possible in looking at the changes that would be put forth eventually on this. And hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because anybody who's ever driven there sees the width in the path that's taken out of there and how dangerous it is. But I do thank both of you for giving us this report.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council is, we also have the Safe Street Planning Grant for all of Chelmsford Street, but had spoken to Ms. Altman about this. That is not funded. We will be looking at this intersection specifically because it's just kind of odd. There's only one way to say it. There's too many streets coming in one area. So hopefully we'll know soon on the Safe Streets Planning Grant. If that doesn't happen, we'll continue to move forward. Thank you.
Yum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager sort of answered that a little bit in the timing, especially members of the Glory Buddhist Temple mentioned that they have difficult time after leaving the temple from Cambridge Street on to Chelmsford Street, and they asked me the timeline, and from according to what you just said, the Safe Street Grant probably next round, maybe. The short question will be, when do you think we can expect the changes to that intersection? So,
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the council. Council, the first piece would be the grant just to do the planning of it in that area. But if this doesn't come through, Ms. Altman is signaling to me that we don't know exactly the time frame. That's out of our control on that grant. But that's all for the entire Chelmsford Street area. But if that doesn't happen in a timely fashion, I believe those two intersections we've discussed, because they're really right next to each other, that's something we'll be looking at sooner. Let me get back to you in regards to a time for the grant funding. That's just, once again, that's beyond our control.
Councilor Chow.
thank you.
All set. Great. Motion response B, Stevens Street. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Ms. Altman for the report. I'm glad to see the 25 mile per hour from Marginal Street to Pine Street, and also keeping intact the 30 mile per hour speed from Pine Street to Chelmsford Street. I'd like to thank the police department. They're quite aggressive. They actually put up a 25 mile an hour sign on the 30 mile an hour part of Stevens Street. So if they could take that down, it is 30 miles per hour. But Ms. Altman, thank you very much. Excellent report as always.
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. In this report, I'd like to make the motion, or what's the process? There's a recommendation to kind of make things a little bit more, work together, where they recommend the council consider rescinding a handful of special speed regulations. So what would be the process required for the council to consider that, to rescinding those listed?
Sure.
Hi. It is a similar process to an ordinance change. It would, I would put together a motion for you to pass as a city council, and then that would be forwarded on to MassDOT to rescind those specific special speed regulations. So then those roads could go under the citywide 25 mile an hour. So if that's something that the council would like me to do, I can put that together for your consideration.
So I would make the motion to have the traffic engineer put that together for the council for consideration, please.
I second that, please.
Okay, just we'll get to that in 1 second. Councilor Gitche first, then Councilor Dakota, then we'll hit that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, when we get into the 25 mile an hour speed limit signs, normally they get put up and they can be posted where it says 25 miles an hour, and then you have a 35 within 20 feet of it. And basically on the sign, what it says is, if not otherwise posted within the community. It is a very dangerous practice to run out and say everything in your city is going to be 25 miles an hour when you had traffic studies done, and there's a lot of pieces to this. So this is not something that any community really does in this type of change this quick. It's not something that you just throw something against the wall and see if it sticks and say, here's 25 miles an hour. It is not recommended by most traffic engineers. What is your professional opinion on that?
So the special speed regulations are typically based upon a traffic study. So the latest guidelines from MassDOT for special speed regulations acknowledge that many towns and cities in the Commonwealth have put in this Chapter 17C ordinance, as this city has, for 25 miles an hour in a thickly settled districts. So they recognize that when cities do that and they have special speed regulations that were possibly put into place in 1980 or 1985, that it's more appropriate for those older streets to come under the global 25 mile an hour speed, statutory speed, rather than the special speed regulation that was put into place at an older time. So, I mean, I maybe wouldn't take it off of, I mean, Andover Street has a 35 mile an hour speed limit on it right now. The way it's designed, it would be very difficult to enforce or to expect people to go 35 miles an hour on that street, or 25 on that street, when it's designed basically as 40 mile an hour road. So maybe you don't want to take that one off, but there are other streets like Lakeview, parts of Bridge, maybe Stevens, that you'd want them to be under 25 miles an hour statutory speed regulation because they are already in a thickly settled district, and it would make sense.
If we do this, we're not piecemealing this together. It's a one size fits all, and you're going to change busing routes for students and how quickly they can get these kids to places. There's a lot of that goes into traffic design and traffic regulations and speeds. It's not one size fits all that you just go, okay, the city of Lowell is now all 25 miles an hour. So I'd be very cautious at doing this. I would send it back to the traffic engineer. I'd make a motion to send it back to the traffic engineer for review and highlight areas per the council that they wanted to do it. So I think that makes way more sense than doing it the other way around.
Second on that motion.
So my motion that was made on the floor was to send this to the traffic engineer for her recommendation for the council to discuss. So, because the recommendation is in this report.
So, motion was made originally by Councilor Robinson, was seconded by Councilor Scott. It's basically the same motion by Councilor Gitche and Councilor Mercer. So we'll send it back to the traffic engineer.
Yeah.
Maybe come back to a subcommittee before we come back to a council, because I'm sure there's going to be multiple questions from everybody.
Perfect.
Make sense? Okay, great. Councilor Dakota?
I'm a bit confused why we're sending this back to a subcommittee. I've been in the transportation industry for over 30 years. I've been the transportation director for the school department for 20 years.
You're an expert?
I appreciate that, Mayor. Thank you. Ms. Altman, the street that Ms. Altman has on this report, they should not be changed. These speed limits should not be changed. They're perfect just the way they are. The ones that we were talked about to go into 25, I absolutely agree. I see no reason for this to go back to a subcommittee. What Ms. Altman has put together is exactly the way it should be. I don't know, with all due respect to my colleague, if he would change his motion. I do not believe this should go to a subcommittee. These are the correct roads and correct speed limits that should be on these roads.
So the motion to send it to a subcommittee after we get the report is to have these kinds of discussions. I'm sure your word will be taken just as important as everybody else's. I don't disagree with you.
If it's
but
the will of the body.
Everybody should come and just, have this. I mean,
If it's
kinda
the will
how
of the
I do
body,
it now.
Mayor, that's fine.
I'm with you. All right. So does that sound good? Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
So what's the question that
Send it
we're,
back to
So the,
engineer
Yep.
for review of all streets, come back into a report.
with a recommendation.
With a
sure.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Dakota.
No.
Counselor Getchia.
No.
Counselor Janess.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy. Counselor Mercia.
No.
Counselor Noon. Counselor Robinson.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Scott.
No.
Counselor Yem.
No.
Motion fails.
It'd be past 7 o'clock, general public hearings, 4.1, ordinance to amend salary grid. I give a second reading ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 56 entitled Personnel. Motion to adopt by, I'm sorry, I apologize. Those speak in favor? In favor? Those speak in favor? Hearing is closed. Those in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? That part of the hearing is closed. Comments from the council?
I'd like to
Councilor
recuse
Getchia?
myself. I'd like to recuse myself.
Councilor Mercia?
I have to recuse myself.
Okay.
I don't have to. Oh, I don't have to? Then forget what I just said.
Any other comments? A motion to adopt by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Yem. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Dakota.
Yes.
Counselor Getchia. Counselor Janess.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy. Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon. Counselor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Scott.
Yes.
Counselor Yem.
Yes.
Returning to motion responses C, Lincoln Playground replacement. Councilor Getchia?
Thank you for the report. I just wonder if we can move it up quicker, that's all, because of those kids. But if there's no other avenue to move it up quicker, I just think that that playground is something that they use every day during the school day. So if there's a way that we can shrink down the timeline and try to get it out. I know that it just came back, or we're still in the process of awarding, which I don't understand. If you opened a bid, how long ago did we open that bid?
Mr. Manager?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the date, but once we award the bid, then it's the process of actually getting the contract created. So
Yes.
once we open it and accept it, we just give them the thumbs up, and then the actual contract needs to be created.
See, my problem is we award something, and to execute it, there's that whole detention time that seems like it takes forever in our city, and it seems like that people stop bidding or they overbid because of that detention time in between. And that's what I'm trying to figure out is, what is the average time from award to execution in our contracts, and how do we get that shrunk down and get it back quicker? That's really what stalls a lot of our projects, it seems. So, if we could get a report on that, what that detention time is from award to execution, would it be the CFO who could answer that, or the manager?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. I think the problem, Councilor, here was originally we had $300,000 and then found out that it was going to cost obviously much more money. And going through the CDBG process, that put another pause into it with the additional $420,000, excuse me, which wasn't done until September of '23. That's, I think, some of the pausing. We don't have the ability to go out and actually do this if we don't have the money that we wanted to complete the project.
But we're in, yeah, and I don't disagree with
Yeah,
you, but
that's,
we're,
I think
we're in,
that's, in this particular instance, I don't disagree with what you've been saying about trying to shrink the time frame. If we can indeed shrink the time frame here, I just don't know if we can. Ms. Rose?
Given staff capacity and DPD, and I have one person that's in charge of all of our open space projects, I don't think so, but certainly we will continue to try to work with designers to expedite the process as much as possible. Given that this is also adjacent to the school, we have tried to make sure that we build into it time to like show things to the school, the principal, give them time to kind of react to it, which also can sometimes drag out the design process.
so all that should have already been done if we awarded. So it all should have been shown to the school, that all should have been done. We're talking summer of 2025, and we're in March of 24, so it's a year and 3 months away, and it just seems like that's ridiculous. We shouldn't have to go back to a school if it's been awarded. That was the question. It was awarded, so I just don't understand how it's going to take a year and 3 months from award. That's all. Thank you.
It was a design award.
Right. Right.
Not
So
a
they
construction
should
award.
already been on it, right? If you're designing something, I would hope the school's in between, right? So we already know. And then once we design, it goes out and then we come back, right? So shouldn't we talk to the principals of the school when we design something? In the school department, or we just?
I'm sorry. So what we accepted was the design contract. So we haven't been designing it with design construction documents. So that's what we're doing now. So once we like, we're going to go to the school, show them the equipment, let them help us like weigh in on what the equipment is. So it's not.
So the design's been awarded just for a person to come in and actually design?
Do the design,
So that's
correct.
where I get confused on this.
Correct.
Because it
Yeah,
says
yeah, yeah.
the design has been awarded, meaning
The design contract has been
contract.
awarded, correct, not the construction contract.
Okay.
Motion response D, bus shelter, Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report. Yeah, it's the bus shelter looks all right, but my it's not sexy. It's not good enough. So I just like you know, with the city of many visitor come to visit. I was hoping better, but I know the LRTA is the one that responsible. But also, I go to Go Low project and look at some of these plan to put a the bus shelter. I know the across the street where the Acre Crossing, from the senior housing, the low housing authority, the senior come and wait in front of the Acre Crossing, and that's motion was brought to my attention by the project staff at the Acre Crossing that the bus shelter should be provided there because a lot of senior come from that low housing authority. They took the bus downtown, so they come and they wait in the rain and the snow. So oftentimes the staff at the Acre Crossing will invite them, the resident, to wait inside, you know, from away from the cold and the weather. This bus shelter that we have here in the picture, my fear is that if someone with a wheelchair will just fit in, but it's not enough to accommodate others. So there should be a better with the solar that will provide, you know, in time, you know, the schedule, bus schedules and everything, similar to other cities and towns that they have done. So the use solar system, power, the schedule of the bus, tell time and things like that. And in addition, you can generating ads, you know, similar to other cities and towns as well. So it's just my comment. I know it's not pretty, but that's all we have. Hopefully down the future, we can create a better, more attracting. Thank you.
Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the response here. I think having good bus shelters is a key part of having a transportation system that is usable, is accessible, and is inviting. So anything we can do to help push that along, I'm more than happy to. I do have one question about the shelter in the photo. Several years ago, one of the panes of glass on the side of that shelter was broken, and it remains missing to this day. Is replacing that glass, I assume, is on the LRTA, or is that on us?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. The LRTA purchases them. We try to maintain them. So I was surprised by that comment, Councilor. I'll make sure that that's taken care of. I remember seeing the spidered glass, and I quite frankly didn't get out to look, but we'll make sure that that is
Yeah,
completed.
the spider's not there anymore. But
The spider
there's
glass is not there, that's correct, because when I drove by, I was very impressed, quite frankly. So we will get on top of that.
Thank
I
you for
apologize.
that. And in a more broad strokes, this LRTA discussion is just bringing back to mind for me. We had a motion this past fall asking for the LRTA to come in and update us on what their plans were for their increased funding that they received as part of the most recent state budget. We haven't had them come in. Do you want me to refile that motion, or can we just invite them in? Because I'd really like to have that discussion with them.
Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council, we'll bring them in. I know there was a little bit of a delay, but I'll talk to Mr. Bradley about that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All set? Great. Motion response E, daily school restriping. Councilor Getchia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Manager, I love that we're going to repave this. Is this going to be done at the same time as the Bailey? Because I know they said they were going to repave the Bailey school, so are they doing the two of them at the same time? Do you know?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, let me just check on the Bailey and get you an answer. I don't want to answer that right at this moment. Let me find out if that is going to happen, and I'm quite confident I'll be able to find out before the end of the meeting.
I just didn't. I wanted to make sure we didn't confuse the Bailey and the Daily, because I knew the Bailey was getting done, and I'm just worried about maybe we confused names. But thank you again.
And Councilor, that's why I'm putting this on pause, just for a moment, if we could, sir.
Thank you.
We'll find that out in a moment.
Thank you.
Motion response F, air ducts at senior center. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The response that I got was the air ducts at the senior center are scheduled to be cleaned between March 11th and the 18th by the building owner. A scissor lift will be delivered for easy access to the duct. Dirty ceiling tiles will be replaced also. Has that started? Because today's the 12th. And I meant to call, but I was so busy I did not get a chance. So has it started yesterday?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council. Councilor, yes, they're halfway through the main room, or the cafeteria, as some will
the
call
great
it.
room.
The great room.
Yeah.
With new tiles, paint, and they're working on the air ducts. They're starting actually at the top. That may be going into the later part of this week and the beginning of next week, but
Okay.
you'll see a difference there immediately. They are not working, I believe tomorrow is Wednesday and Thursday due to two events that are there, and you saw the size of the scissor lift.
Yes.
Anything else to add with that?
I think that's it. They closed 2 days this week. Hopefully they'll get to.
But it's a start, and
That's correct.
it's a little bit of a process.
I'll be able to show you a couple of photos.
So I'm so
it looks
pleased. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Motion response G, DPU public hearing. Councilor Noon, Getchia, Janess. Any comments? Councilor Janess?
I appreciate the response, and I'm glad to know that that meeting is going to happen. Just for the public who may be watching and are interested in following along, that meeting will be in person tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the South Lawrence East Elementary School in Lawrence. And interpretation services in Spanish will be available at the in-person hearing. So if anybody is interested in participating, that is tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Lawrence.
Councilor Getchia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I wasn't that clear in the motion to try to get it to the Lowell area rather than Lawrence, but through you to the manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. We did ask, and they had told us at this time that they did not have any plans on extending. We did reach out to Representative Elliott at the time. Actually, he was present. He had sent off a letter, and I believe it may be in your inboxes tonight, just asking once again that DPU come to the city of Lowell. But so currently right now, our ask was rejected in a nice way. But so now we're going to go the legislative route to see if that can happen.
So we're both on the same page. When I read Lawrence, I'm like, I don't think that's what we meant, but maybe I didn't come across, but you got the same point I got. Thank you.
Motion response H, school dude access for principals by Councilor Getchia.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again to the manager, I want to thank you. It seems like after the motion came through, now we're starting to see the principals have their access to it, so now they can readily communicate with Assistant City Manager Machado and not me, which makes my life a lot more easier. And I thank you for taking the calls and being really responsive to them. And I think that once we get moving on this, those things will go down, because then now you have a principal actually, it will come right to their desktop rather than having to chase down somebody. And every time I chase down somebody in the school, somebody grabs me and I forget where I was going to the other person. So it never really gets done as quick as I should. So thank you again for getting this done, Mr. Manager, and your staff, and Mr. Machado. I think it's important, and hopefully they are reaching out to you.
Mr. Machado?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor, back to the Bailey and the Daily are scheduled to get paved this construction season.
Thank you.
And I have some pictures of the senior center that I can get to you as well.
Thank you, Mr. Machado. Motion response I, Spaghettiville Bridge by Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report, Mr. Manager. So let me tell you what the report says. The report says that the bridge is owned by CSX, the owners of the railroad bridge. And I know that you called numerous times to discuss restoration plans, many, many times, and I'm not surprised to hear that. So here's my response to that report. Remember the old adage, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to get permission. So let me give you what I found out about the Spaghettiville Bridge sign. It was made years ago by a man who worked in the welding department at the machine shop at the Prince Spaghetti Company. So the sign is owned by the former Prince Spaghetti Company and not CSX, who owns the bridge. What harm would it be to take the sign down, refurbish it, and put it back up? I have people that want to donate to have that happen. Permission was already granted years ago, so what harm would it be to put up a freshly restored sign? So why are we even bothering asking them for any permission? We are making improvements to people that own a bridge that just want to travel across it. They don't care what's on it. So how does that become bad? So I would say, don't waste your time and call them anymore. You're not going to get a hold of them. What you're going to think you could blame everything on me. I don't care. We'll take the sign off, refurbish it, and put it back. The most that can happen is it's a better looking place than it was when we started. How can they, if they contact us, we'll beg for forgiveness and tell them, isn't it better now than it was before? So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Is CSX that challenging? Because I know we've tried to reach out to them with encampments that are on their property and a bunch of other problems, debris and garbage that's on their property. Is it just they don't answer the calls, or they just, because it's not their area, they don't bother?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council. Councilors, we've had great luck with CSX, or I should say okay luck, and currently right now we're on radio silence. I sent out another email today, actually, knowing that this was going to happen, to see what could possibly happen. There's a number that you can call them if there's a problem, but something like this, refurbishing of a sign or painting, they're always kicking it up the ladder. So I think we might be in the right place at this time with the people, just waiting on a response coming back. But it should be known that if the chief needs to get a hold of somebody because there is a train on the track that is doing something or not doing something that they shouldn't be doing, the chief can get a hold of them. I think that Councilor Scott has even told me that there's an 800 number that maybe she could share with us. But I've been using the email just to kind of track what's happening with CSX.
Thank you.
Councilor Scott?
I was actually just going to say, I mean, I've had contact with them because of trains idling down behind Moore Street, State Street, Crowley Street. But if you are reaching out to them again, they have started idling the trains there all the time again. And the neighbors have been calling, complaining about that. But they are not easy to deal with. And the neighbors have called repeatedly. It sometimes takes them 5, 10 calls before they take action. And so there's the idling issue going on right now, and then also the mirror that I've brought up at the bridge while you're reaching out to them. Try to get it so that we can attach it to the bridge. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes, that 1-800 number is 1-800, don't hold your breath, because they have railroad ties that are along the railroad tracks, and they contain creosote, very harmful for children playing in the area that are inquisitive, and that's not a good thing, and they could care less about picking it up. So we fine them, they don't pay a fine, so it's 1-800, who gives a damn? That's what it is.
Councilor Yem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Add on to the suggestion, Mr. Manager, if you talk to them, the resident who live on Wilder Street near Duncan Hall, their backyard is adjacent to the train track, and they told me that there's a lot of trash and debris along the track, and they asked that why they told the horn at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, right behind their home. So if you, when you talk, just this is a list of items to talk to them, and they don't understand, you know, why 2 o'clock in the morning you have to toot the horn. So thank you.
Motion response J, Equity Stabilization Fund by Councilor Noon. You want to put it on next week's agenda, Mr. Manager? Councilor Noon did say it was outstanding report, so. Yeah, thank you. 6.2, information report, 25-mile-per-hour update, Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. I'd like to bring Ms. Altman up again, but just letting everybody know that this informational report, we're starting to roll this out. Obviously, as you've seen, we have signs coming into major roadways, hopefully by the end of April. But this is, once again, the public relations piece of trying to remind people what is happening here. This is what is starting right now. Ms. Altman?
Correct. The large signs at the entrance to the city are going in. They went in, probably 2/3 are done. The rest will be finished on Friday. So that part will be finished. The city manager's office has put in an order for some yard signs if any residents wanted to get them and put them on their residential street. If any resident has a 30-mile-an-hour sign on their residential street, that can be changed by LPD Sign Shop. And at this point, it's just education through the police department, and then they'll start enforcing slowly through written warnings at first, and then they'll get more strict.
Does it get you?
Thank you. You know, and it goes back to the previous motion. So when we talk about where the signs are going to be put up, you would think that they're all going to be put up at the entrance from other communities in, say 110 on Chelmsford Street, coming from Chelmsford into Lowell, that sign would go up. Well, that sign's going to be put up at 25, and underneath it says unless otherwise posted. And then directly after that sign, you're going to see a speed limit sign that's higher than it. And that's where people will get confused, because on all the state highway roads, they do exactly what you said earlier. And that's what people have to understand. When you put it Andover Street, when you're coming in from the Andover side, you're going to see, okay, here is a sign that says this, but then you're going to see a sign after it. So residents have to understand that these signs are warnings so that when you're coming into thickly settled areas that are not posted, it's 25.
Correct. If it is posted at a higher speed, it is that higher speed. Every other road that is thickly settled, street, downtown, any neighborhood street will all be covered by the 25 miles an hour. I did not make up this sign. This is a standard MassDOT sign, and it's required to be put up when you adopt the 17C statutory speed limit.
No, and also they have the posts that you're going to have to put in there, the breakaways on those roads too, which is a big expense. The question comes down to, now, when you roll this out, because I rolled this out in my past life somewhere else, and the calls started rolling in, and they just keep rolling in, and everybody has to be made aware of the same thing. How many signs are we expected to put out, do you know?
We are putting out 32 signs.
Are they all at entranceways? Like coming off the highway, you'll see one, and on probably Gorham Street and
Correct.
Thorndike.
We're putting at the exits from the Lowell connector, at all the entrances from Drake. There's going to be one on Route 110. There's going to be one on Varnum Avenue, on Pawtucket Boulevard. Yeah, all the major streets.
The only reason why I highlight this is because people are probably not going to expect this in their neighborhood. It's basically an entrance to the city. So I'm just trying to highlight it so we don't get 400 phone calls saying, how come I don't have one of these on my side street? The purpose isn't for side streets. It's basically for entranceways from another community into a community that adopted this ordinance.
Correct.
That's the only reason why I highlight that. Thank you.
Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the administration for all your work on this. I think that this is a good step in terms of roadway safety within the city, particularly in our residential areas, and I think it's well needed and will have a good effect. Something I mentioned a few times when this has come up on the floor is I think we should do a little outreach, particularly to the larger employers within the city who bring in a lot of their employees from outside of town, whether that's the hospital, the university, the schools, etc. Just ask them to put a memo out to all their employees, just as another avenue to get this message across to folks driving into the city.
Councilor Dakota?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it safe to assume, Ms. Altman, that you'll be yourself strategically placing these signs?
Yes, I've located all the signs. They were marked out. DigSafe came and made sure that they were all good. So they've been out, and like I said, about 2/3 of them are up. They were on Gorham Street today. Those are up. They've been going up. They are the big posts. They do have breakaway bottoms on all of them. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Altman. 6.2, information report, ARPA CTI-Lowell Housing Authority funding support to city. Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, this is a really exciting time. We have two of our partners that are here tonight, and under the ARPA portion category of affordable housing and homelessness, I think this is a good opportunity for us to thank Lowell Housing Authority and CTI, who we'll be working with. In one instance, there's been many people that have come to the microphone saying that the city of Lowell is not doing what we can. And I have to say to our partners like CTI and LHA, Lowell Housing Authority has over 3,200 units here in the city of Lowell. And that is something that is obviously helping all of our families that are in need of housing, all of elderly, disabled folks. And I think it's a good opportunity to turn some of this federal funding over to the Housing Authority. I know that the executive director is here tonight, and I'm hoping that he handed out some paperwork that you've all seen in the past, but it's in regards to repairing elevators over at 198 South Street, updating all the smoke detectors throughout their area, the hot and cold water piping for the North Common Village, and another piece when we talk about the affordable housing, home ownership, and homelessness, River's Edge, which would be another 32 units. Everyone else knows that River's Edge has been very successful, extremely successful from the Housing Authority standpoint. From community teamwork, it's another piece, once again, and I know some of our friends from community teamwork are here, 275 Summer Street, which I believe we're all very familiar with. There are 19 permanent supportive housing units for unsheltered people that is going to be opening. This is something that this council has talked about. This council has been very aggressive on all of this. And the next piece, I think that most everyone throughout the city will be extremely proud of, and that's the Lotus House for Women. There's housing needs for homeless women for up to 50 women right here in the city. So I think when the city of Lowell is questioned as to what we're doing for affordable housing, we have 32 units in this. When we talk about homelessness, what are we trying to do for homelessness? I think the proof is certainly right here in the pudding, and I hope that this $3.7 million that we're going to be spending to the council, I think this is exactly what we've been trying to do and wanting to do. I don't think we're going to be done just yet when it comes to doing this, but I think this is money wisely spent, and I'd gladly entertain any questions, or if the executive directors are here from said organizations, if they want to answer any of those. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you to both Lowell Housing and CTI. I know CTI in particular, they've been incredible partners right there out the gate with providing housing for those in need of housing. I just have a couple questions. I mean, out of the ARPA funding that Lowell received, 60-something million dollars, and you know, we're looking to really improve areas of our city for our residents and our community, which that's pretty much what that money's intended for. The COVID kind of exposed some areas that they saw were impacted, and so that's why this money was handed over. With these 19 units on Summer Street, do our Lowell residents get preference on this? Because, I mean, that's something I'm starting to see, is that we're doing, and our community partners are doing more and more in our city with funding from our city, but when we have people being dropped off from Amesbury, then that's causing a problem because the people in our city are not being helped with the strides that everyone's trying to make.
Hello. So for the placement, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah.
Better? Okay, sorry. For the placement for the 19 units on Summer Street, everyone will have to go through coordinate entry due to our COC funding. That's all going into that unit, to that building. So what coordinate entry is, it's a scoring system for homeless individuals, and it just makes it equitable. So it's the most vulnerable get top pick to go in there. The way we always say it is we treat their heart attack before the broken arm. So this is how it will be. But right now, after looking at the coordinate entry list, out of the top 10, about 7 of them are either coming out of a CTI shelter or a Lowell transitional. The other 3 may be outside. I just didn't recognize the names, but they are preference. I just can't say that they're all going to be living in Lowell, but they're all residing. The majority of them are residing here within our shelter or within our community.
Thank you. And with projects like this, though, do Lowell residents get priority in these kind of situations? So if these are going to be the most vulnerable, say 19 people on the list, if you had 30 people on the list and, you know, there was 15 of them or 19 of them were from Lowell, would they get bypassed just because it's a first come, first served basis?
Unfortunately, no. Due to the way that the state has it, it's through coordinated entry, so it just goes strictly by vulnerability. But it'll be within our region, which meaning like Lowell, Dracut, Billerica, within our surrounding towns.
And see, that's what I think, maybe a summit or something for discussion, because again, we're providing resources. CTI has stepped up time and time again, providing services, resources, and yet our surrounding communities and our partners, they're not contributing. I mean, they received ARPA funding too. I see we're stepping up to do what we can, not just for Lowell, but for the region, as was just explained. So I think this is a valid point, and I think this is something that we need to consider at that next summit when we start bringing, you know, area stakeholders in, surrounding communities in, and let's have that conversation again, not how can Lowell do more, but if we're going to look at it, how can Lowell do more with your assistance, because we are using all of our available resources, and I thank you and your organization for what you do. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Scott, EM, then get you. Councilor Scott?
Thank you. I would just echo Councillor Robinson's sentiments. We have this 50-bed shelter. Obviously, we need shelter, and we've heard people, like you said, coming to the podium telling us that we're not doing enough, and we certainly need to do more. But I do have concerns when we read the article recently that mentioned how people are coming from the entire region, how there were contracts with other towns to come to the shelter, and I don't know if that would be the same with this facility, if there would be municipal contracts with other towns to come and
For
use the shelter?
For the shelter, for the Lotus
shelter.
House?
Yes.
No, that's emergency shelter. So it would just be whoever's in need, for women in need of a bed.
So other areas could come and bring people, just like they do to LTLC, and drop people off.
Yeah.
And that's just really concerning when you see numbers. We saw Lawrence, it said, had 20 shelter beds, Haverhill, 30 shelter beds. And we're using taxpayer money here in Lowell to fund these shelters. And it doesn't feel right to me that there isn't some type of like an impact fee or something that these other towns or cities have to provide when they place people here. And they are placing them here. Sometimes they're dropping them off their police department. So that's my only concern. We definitely have to do this. I understand it. But it's just concerning that the other cities and towns aren't doing enough. Thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you to the administration, the city, to work with the Low Housing Authority. I really appreciate for what Low Housing Authority is doing. Most of the residents in the Low Housing Authority are very low income, and these are the people are vulnerable, and these are the people that need help the most. And I appreciate the city step up, working in partnership with the Low Housing Authority. Thank you for all you do, Mr. Manager, and the staff at the Low Housing Authority. Thank you.
Councilor Getchia and Councilor Janess. Councilor Getchia?
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. I agree with the manager on the piece about the housing and, people being housed and stuff. But what I don't agree with this whole policy of giving away these funds are when people have maintenance issues in their own place, and now we're paying for their maintenance issues when we have the same. We look at elevators, we're going to give the Lowell Housing Authority $900,000 when we have an elevator over in the library that has issues. You look at our City Hall elevator that could actually use this money. We look at smoke detectors, that's on a maintenance issue for them. A mandate change, what's that got to do with the City of Lowell? Pipe repair, they knew it was there, was conducted in 2021. Here we are in 2024, and they want us to pay the $150,000. We have pipe repair in the city that we could use opera money for, and gate replacement programs such as the one the mayor Rourke put up. Why are we not using the money for our gate replacement program, our gate turning programs? We could always use more money doing that. We're billions of dollars upside down in wastewater, in our own piping, and here we are again with 1.460 million going over there in maintenance issues that all our schools have problems with, all our buildings have problems with. I haven't seen the Housing Authority come back here and give us money for one of those issues yet. I just think it's fair across the board. We should be spending this on our buildings and the stuff that we have. And I agree with you 100%, Mr. Manager. They're a great partner. And this isn't anything against them. If I could get more money, I'm going to keep asking until you say no. And, we already gave away $500,000, and here we are. We have issues in our schools and stuff. So on my end, I look at these as maintenance issues, B, C, and D. The $250,000 for River's Edge, I agree, okay. You're going to help us with, or help the city with that piece. But we have to start putting our foot down and understand we have an issue with our own maintenance issues. And when are we going to start taking care of our taxpayers and the people here with that money? It's $1.46 million in maintenance issues at the Housing Authority now that the city's going to take on and give away, and I don't think it's fair. The housing piece, as you outlined, Mr. Manager, I would agree with you 100%. The other issues, I think that when we're talking about elevators, there's an elevator over at the library that has been nothing but a disaster. There's one in City Hall that's going to need to be replaced. We start looking at smoke detectors. They changed. Let them go after the state and get the monies. And that's just my opinion on those funds, so I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the administration for their work on this, and thank CTI and Lowell Housing for all the work that they do in our community to take care of our vulnerable Lowell residents, and they do a lot of that work. I am in support of all of these expenditures. I think they all make sense. If we look at the elevator specifically from LHA at 198 South Street, it's a building with 399 residents. If those elevators go and there's no elevators, you can't have elderly and disabled people in a tall building like that with no elevator. They would all have to be rehoused. That is further demand on the city's limited and stretched housing stock. This is an effective investment that the city is making to keep those 399 residents in their homes and able to to continue to live here in the city of Lowell. I think that makes sense. So thank you, Mr. Manager, for your work on this. And I look forward to seeing this work happen and continuing to develop good residential options here in the city. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a very important word in this city, and it's called partnership. And one hand feeds the other in a most productive way. We are a city, and we're not in the business to build housing and have people off the streets and people that can't afford a private home, but they can get into the housing or get into a unit from CTI and an organization that's a 501c3 that can help. But these are the people that are here, CTI, the Lowell Housing Authority, and they're the people that create this housing so that many of our relatives could live there, our grandparents. My grandmother used to live there on Summer Street many years ago. These aren't strangers. These are Lowellians. These are everybody's grandmother or aunt or whatever. These are Lowellians. I know what Councilor Gitche is saying, and I understand what he's saying, but we have to help out, and this is the way that we can give our fair share of contributing to the housing needs is by the windfall of money that we got. It's designated for a certain purpose, and the purpose is for housing. We don't have the housing ourselves, but we do have a partner that has the housing. So I think it's a win-win situation to look at how we are contributing to this. So thank you to those that are providing a home for a needy person. Thank you so much. That could be my grandmother or my mother. Thank you.
Councilor Scott?
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mention before. I thought we were just talking about the CTI part of it, but on the LHA part of it, I do take issue with the idea of purchasing smoke detectors for the LHA. And the reason I take issue with it is because it's a federal mandate. Again, another unfunded mandate by the federal government. They told them they have to put smoke detectors in every bedroom. And I'm not sure that should be an issue that the Lowell taxpayers should be taking on. Again, if it was a federal mandate, the federal government should provide the funding to pay for it. They should go to their federal rep and ask for the funding. I agree with River's Edge. It is an opportunity for residents here in the city to obtain housing, but I would just ask, I guess I don't even think we get a vote. It's just informational. But that would be my concern, is I don't think we should be paying for that. Thank you.
Councilor Gitche?
Mayor Rourke, I wouldn't have responded, but when my name is thrown out there and we start trying to pit elderly versus students, our students are from Lowell. They've been in buildings that it rains in. They've had poor heating, poor AC for many, many years. And these are capital plans. It says it clearly in here. It says elevators in 2019. That's 5 years. What would we do if we didn't have the money? And the other one says clearly 2021. And as Councilor Scott put out, it clearly stated that's a federal mandate. And no one's pitting anybody against anybody, but we only have so much money. And our students mean a lot to me also, as much as my elderly. But we have a government agency that is responsible for capital planning going forward. We can name how many apartments are in there and how many elderly, but how many students are in the city of Lowell? Do we have that number, Mr. Manager? Do we know how many students are in? Anybody?
13,000.
14,000?
Okay, say 14,000. There's 14,000 students that some of them get into schools where Councilor Scott was at a meeting the other day where we saw rodents running across the floors. I mean, let's figure out, where does the money go? They were running across the floors while we were in a neighborhood committee meeting. And we're battling here over the same funds that can help our students in schools, 14,000 of them. So if we're going to point, let's point at everything and say, okay, our monies were given to us for the reason the ARPA monies were for our system. Thank you.
Councilor Chow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to thank the managers and administration for putting together this budget and this plan, as both Councilor Janess and Councilor Mercier spoke earlier and very eloquently. These are important projects, and the key word in all this is partnership. And, you know, as many of the councilors, other councilors voiced out too about different opinion about where the money should go and things like that. We live in a city that has a lot of great things, but we also have a lot of challenges. And we try to support as much as we can to projects that will come up. And if the money is available for a certain project, I agree with the manager's office, is that we should support them. We shouldn't be, I know it's a difficult project, difficult task enough trying to figure out where the money should be spent and so forth. And if we're able to have the money to support this type of project, I am in full favor of it, because, you know, let's just, you know, we're all serving our residents. We're all working with our partnership to make sure that the city move forward. And I know this is not like an end all. Just because we spend the money for these projects, it does not mean that we're not going to try to find other money, other funding sources to support other projects. So while we can support these projects for now, I think it's great, and I encourage and I urge the administration to keep on looking for more money, to look for more funding, so we can support the other projects, support the other needs where the other councillors are mentioning. So this is a great project. I'm in full support of this. Thank you.
Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, I know we need an endless pit of money here in this city to take care of everything that needs to be taken care of, both city-owned and you know, owned by our partners. And I don't think the CFO has found that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow yet. I know he's looking. He's got that green tie on. Hopefully, he'll be able to find it. But the other point I wanted to make is we talk about the 14,000 students we have in our school system. I bet a significant portion of that 14,000, when they go home from school, they go home to LHA and CTI properties. Us investing in these properties is also taking care of our students just when they're outside of the buildings. Not all of the kids, not all of the people who live in these buildings owned by these two organizations are students, of course, but there is a significant chunk of our student population who does rely on this housing. So us partnering with these organizations is helping students.
With all that being said, got a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Mercer, second by Councilor Yem. Those in favor say aye. Motion passes. 6.3, communication, reappointment of Mary Wambu-Ekop to the Sustainability Council. A motion to adopt by Councilor Mercer, second by Councilor Janess. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy. Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Noon. Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
9 days.
Votes from the city manager. 7.1, accept and expend $30,000 NEFA grant for case. Waive the full reading and second reading by title.
Mr. Mayor?
Authorizing,
Oh, sorry.
authorize the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept and expend a public art for spatial justice grant in a total amount of $30,000 from the New England Foundation for the Arts. The motion to accept by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Yem.
Comment.
You want to speak on it? Councilor Robinson?
I just would like to say congratulations to Case. That's huge. They applied for this grant, and I think it's going to go towards a project that's in the pipeline that's going going to be very welcomed in the city, and I think it's going to have tremendous impact. Won't be this year, I don't believe, but this is huge to see that they pursued this grant and were awarded it based on the event that they're working on being so special and unique to our city. So congratulations to Case and all those that pursued this grant.
All said. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Counsel Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Dakota.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess.
Yes.
Counsel Lee. Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Noon. Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
7.2, vote to transfer $2,025,000 on salary and wage. Waive the full reading. Second reading by title.
Mr. Mayor, I have to recuse myself from voting on this one.
Mr. Mayor, I have to recuse myself as well.
No quorum.
Probably the
So,
whole,
if I could ask the solicitor, it says here that 8 votes are needed, Mr. Solicitor, so we put this off for a week, or do we do it tonight?
Vote.
you know, Mr. Mayor, if there's councilors that over the requirement of how many votes you need, then it throws everything out and everybody can vote. I believe that is,
I believe council raises the rule of necessity.
rule of necessity, that's what it is. So that when you don't have a quorum, then it kicks it out and the rule of necessity kicks in and we can all vote. Did you know that?
I would like to make the motion just to defer till next week when we have a quorum. I think it's just neater, cleaner, and easier to do that way.
Well, there's one other them that'll recruit themselves as well, so I don't know where it's going.
Yeah, he moved.
Mr. Manager?
Would it just be easier to move it to next week, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a motion by Council Robinson
Yeah.
to move to next week, second by Council Dakota. All those in favor say aye.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just make a suggestion to the administration, would just be to next week prepare 3 votes so that the councilors who need to recuse themselves only need to recuse themselves from that individual vote. That way, if we have multiple councilors absent, you don't have 3 people who can't vote on any of them, right? So do one transfer that doesn't include the clerk's office. Do one transfer that doesn't include the other departments.
Mr. Solicitor, you all set? You comfortable with it for a week? Yeah. Thank you. Section 8, ordinance from the city manager, 8.1, ordinance to amend chapter 243-23, outdoor restaurant and retail areas. I need a motion to refer to a public hearing on March 26, 2024 by Councilor Getchia, second by Councilor Janess. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 9, reports, subcommittee, 9.1, Veterans Subcommittee, March 12, 2024. Councilor Yem. You want to do it tonight or next week, Councilor Yem?
I can do it tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yes. Well, the Veterans Subcommittee meet exactly at 5:30 with members, including myself, Councilor Getchia, and Councilor Mercier. In the audience, Mr. Eric Lamarche, who is a veterans for the city veteran service officer for the city of Lowell. We have Melissa DeRocha, she's the executive assistant to the manager, and Miss Lisa Golden, who is the director of the health and human services of the city. We open up the meeting by welcome people in the chambers and also people watch at home. And the agenda of the meeting was to talk about the laying the wreath and the flag on a Gold Star post before the Memorial Day. And the second motion was talking about the hometown hero banners, and the third motion is the plan for Memorial Day 2024 celebration. So Mr. Lamarche gave us the sample and show us the sample of the new wreath that he ordered that will be installed on the Gold Star poles and square throughout the city. He was hoping that it will get the flags coming, so that the installation with the assistance of the DPW staff will be done all together at the same time. And Mr. Lamash also talked about the Hometown Hero banners that his office advertised in a local newspaper, and the deadline to apply for the banners is April 15. If someone need to sponsor a banner for their loved one, the veterans, the first responder, it has to be done by the 15th. Reach out to the Veterans Office to get a copy of the applications, and also the fee to have the banner is $150. So please reach out to the Veterans Office of the city. We also talked about the type of we also talked about the time that we will unveil and for the banners like we did every year. So Mr. Lamash said maybe on the day that we plan to celebrate, which is Tuesday, May 21st at 5 p.m. here at the City Hall, and the time to celebrate the Memorial Day observation, and also unveil the banner at the same time. There were discussion among the subcommittee members. Mr. Councilor Kachir talked about, is it possible for the veterans family who may not be Gold Star but would like to have the wreath installed or put on the post that was dedicated for family members, and Councilor Kachir suggests that we will reach out, the family can reach out to the Veterans Office, maybe purchase it from the Veterans Office, and also to install it to honor their loved one. Councilor Kachir has also talked about would be nice to have flags on all certain area in the city of Lowell. For example, the Lord Overpass coming down from the Lowell Connector to the City Hall, maybe during the Memorial Day, 4th of July, put up all the flags as a way of welcoming, and that looks good. And then Councilor Mercier just concerned about the missing, the flags might be missing, or someone might take it away and things like that. So we also, Councilor Kachir also suggests that there are many other neighborhoods, and maybe will have a discussion neighborhood by neighborhood, which one that we need to kind of try to have the flags on a special event days and things like that. I also suggest to Mr. Lamash regarding the advertising for the banners to work with the manager's office and Mr. Roche to do more publicity on social media to get more attention, because according to Mr. Lamash right now we have only 2 applications for the banners for this year. So maybe we do more social media marketing, let people know as well. I also mentioned to Mr. Lamash regarding the application for the banners to have it online so family and friends can download the form, fill it out, and bring it to Mr. Lamash along with the fees and then the pictures of the loved one that they want to have it on the banners. So that's what the discussion Councilor Mercier was talking about, and asking Mr. Lamash regarding other flags that damage, throughout the city and parks and stuff like that. His office will be taken care of? And the answer yes. Let Mr. Lamash know where the flags in different part of the city, in public building, parks that are damaged. Reach out to the Veterans Office to have it replaced. Before the meeting is over, Mr. Lamash remind us that there will be an event at May 10 to put to put flags on the cemetery, Edson Cemetery, and then another one in June 8th, along with case celebration with flags, and then foods and all that to honor our veteran will be at the Shed Park. So that's the report, and then I would invite my colleagues, Councillor Mercier or Councillor Kachir, if you want to add anything that is not reported.
I think you covered it. Thank you.
Outstanding report, Councillor Young. Yes. The motion to accept the report of progress by Councillor Mercier, seconded by Councillor Getchia. Those in favor say aye. Section 10 petitions, 10.1. 4 property claims. Motion to refer to Law Department for report recommendation by Councillor Janess, seconded by Councillor Dakota. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 10.2 miscellaneous. Arvin Hemert requests permission to address council regarding Lowell water utility. So, Mr. Hebert, I did see what you presented to the clerk's office. It really is a personnel issue that they're willing to speak on.
That ain't about, this is not about that.
So,
Okay.
what you gave us to speak on, right?
I'm here to personally thank
Yeah.
Council Getchia and the council here tonight. I watched the meetings since I was employed with the city. I watched the meetings. I didn't want to come down here. I know I disrupt you. But Council Getchia took in his own thing and made a motion to check on how the water department was doing. Well, a year ago,
So, Mr. Hebert, it's a personnel and workplace issue. You can't speak on it, sir.
Excuse me?
You can't. It's a workplace and personnel issue that you're speaking on, so you can't speak on it.
I'm speaking about a motion that Council Getchia made.
Right. So that's not what you put it on the miscellaneous.
And all I'm saying is I like to express our thanks from the 8 guys that were at the water department that we bonded together. We turned the numbers around, and that's fine. We didn't need the thanks. We never got it. I watched the meetings, and that's how I know Council Getchia himself made the motion, and he got the report, and we turned it around. Understand, contractors charge an enormous amount of money because
So,
most
Mr. Hebert,
money.
again, sir, I don't want to keep cutting you off, but you can't do this. You can't speak about workplace and personnel stuff, contracts and union stuff. You can't talk.
Well, I'm not. All I'm saying is that
if you want to say thank you,
made a
you're welcome.
change
I can tell you, right?
Rock,
You know?
we made a great change, I thought, down there, and that's fine. What we had was the call phone. The call phone was never clarified. We went, talked to the city manager a few times, Sean and myself.
I'm going to ask you, please stop talking about it now because it's like the 4th time I've asked you. I'm going to ask you to leave the room.
Okay, so right now you
can't do it.
Okay. Oh, I'd just like to say I didn't assault a female police officer. I didn't get tased.
No, I know, but you can't.
And I didn't get pepper sprayed.
I know. Come on. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Council, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Section 11, announcements. Anybody have announcements? We have a White Ribbon Day event Thursday, March 14th. Mr. Manager, 11 o'clock at City Hall, down the stairs. Also, Erastus had asked me to reach out to the council concerning a bio for all councilors. If you want to go with last council term's bio, we can do that. But other than that, Erastus is looking for your bios to post on the website. We need a motion to adjourn by Councilor Getchia, second by Councilor Robinson, and good night.